Hello and welcome again. In this video, I would like to explain the conceptual understanding of the concept. I also talk about very briefly the need and the evolution of HR analytics, while emphasizing upon the various levels of HR analytics used by organizations and HR practitioners. I'll also talk about the application of HR analytics while highlighting some of the challenges faced by practitioners. Before we get into what is the need felt by the corporate world, we should also understand what is the meaning of the term analytics and how does analytics add value to human resource. The term analytics is an extension to the term analysis. Analysis means analyzing the existing data in order to identify some patterns. Whereas the term analytics is an extension to that, analytics also talks about utilizing the trends, the data, in order to forecast the future and make some of the predictions about what may happen in the future. And when you associate the domain of analytics to human resource, it becomes an important dimension to the HR function. Now, there are three ways, rather more than three ways, where the need of HR has been felt by the practitioners and the stakeholders. The most common thing is that a lot of HR decisions were based upon the subjectivity. By subjectivity, I mean that there was a lot of gut feel, there was a lot of subjective biases. When you go for selecting or interviewing somebody, you may have your preconceived notions. Similarly, when it is about promoting somebody or giving somebody a feedback, so you have your own subjective biases. It may be conscious or unconscious. So there was a need to minimize that subjectivity and analytics. Since analytics talks about decisions based upon evidence, based upon numbers, based upon the data set, so it tries to minimize the subjectivity in HR related decisions and makes people more objective, which is more accepted and which is more reliable way of decision making. The second value addition or the second need that the practitioners felt was that there is a need to create a set of HR metrics. By HR metric, I mean set of indicator which can establish the credibility of HR, and these indicators can be reported to the organization by integrating with the company's overall performance. So there was a need, one, to identify those metrics, second is to report, and third is to align them with company's overall performance. The third value addition or the third need that HR practitioners have come up with is that they were responsible. The HR practitioners were responsible, or they still are responsible, in providing insight about the future, because organizations try to plan about their future, and in order to get the internal assessment, organizations and the department, they expect HR to do some of the mapping, whether it's about the set of competencies required, or whether it is about leadership pipeline, or whether it is about culture change. So HR department or HR function is expected to provide all those insights to the stakeholders, which are very, very relevant in order to make long-term planning. And without utilizing the data and the analytics, it is not possible to bring the insights and the foresights about the future. And lastly, the biggest need was that people were not able to see a visible or a tangible impact of HR related decisions. Now, with the investment of HR into the field of analytics and digitization and other technological advancements, there is a far more visibility of the direct impact of the initiatives and the decisions on companies' business outcome. So HR managers now freely go into the policy making, they go into interventions because they can measure the impact in a more quantifiable, tangible way. Now, if you look at the history, to me, the history is rooted in the history of management. For example, in the scientific management, Frederick Taylor talked about time study and motion study. And to me, time study and motion study is not possible until you are using the data set, until you are using the HR analytics. But the term analytics was never used by the management thinker. And it was lately, if you look at the literature of HR analytics, you will find the most important name, and the name is Jack Fitzen. Professor Jack Fitzen in 1978 talked about the concept of analytics, and he made a proposition to the organization that there is a need to radically change the HR department. And he also talked about that there is an utmost need to measure the HR activities, because he wanted to create a set of metrics, set of indicators, which can be integrated with organizational overall performance. And then these indicators can become benchmark for the other companies. So they did a study about for about 2 decades in order to find out what are the metrics and how can they be aligned with organization. And then it was difficult to convince the practitioners and the boards and the management. But in the early 21st century, a lot of companies started accepting HR analytics as an important function or sub function because of the technological advancement, because of the digitization, because of the competition, because of the VUCA world. So similarly, a lot of companies have come up with their own package on HR analytics. For example, IBM, Oracle, SAP, they have their own fledged HR analytics softwares. And companies are making use of them in order to get the results and the prediction in a much more comfortable and convenient way. Now, before we move on, it is important for us to understand the definition of HR analytics. Now, HR analytics has taken three important disciplines. So, if I read the definition, it says it is an integration of relevant HR data from various sources, performing of analytics on the data, ultimately gaining insights and foresights, and in order to improve the organizational performance. So here we are using three different disciplines. We are using discipline of MIS or business intelligence in order to extract the relevant data. And then we are using the discipline of stats in order to use the analytics. And then we are using some part of management science where we use the term like optimization and we use other mathematical models, and finally we are contributing to the overall organizational performance. So we must understand that this is not one discipline and this is interdisciplinary. Now let's talk about how does this maturity model or the levels of analysis or analytics emerge. Now in this slide there are four different layers that have been reflected. To begin with, organization make use of descriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics is not a new thing. It's about using the past data and then reporting some of the indicators. For example, what is the satisfaction level, or what is the attrition rate, or what is the absenteeism, or what is the cost per employee. So these are the indicators or the metrics which have been used historically in order to report the past data, the payroll data, or some other kind of data. The second layer of analytics is important because it talks about diagnosing what has happened and finding the reasons of the things that have happened. For example, if the engagement level is low, then what are the reasons? Or if the satisfaction level is low, what are the possible reasons? Or if the employees are not joining the company, identify. So diagnostic includes the mechanism of finding the causes of the outcome. Now these two analytics are largely based upon the past, whereas the third layer, which talks about predictive analytics, now this becomes an important thing. Here we tend to use a lot of linear and non-linear models in order to uh, forecast and predict. For example, we may use logistic regression, or we may use some other forms of regression in order to find out the impact of independent variables on dependent variables. If performance is dependent, then what does it depend upon? If employee loyalty is dependent, then what does it depend upon? So we can make use of the data set, and then we can start predicting that whether so and so person will join, whether so and so person will continue, what would be the loyalty rate, or what would be the salary hike in the coming 4 years based upon the past trend. The fourth layer is very, very important, and I believe not many companies are still able to reach there, but very few companies which are able to reach here, although there are a lot of companies which are here. This is about prescriptive analysis. Herein, you actually give the prescription to the company, like a consultant, like a doctor, that what they should do in order to reach their destination. So if I want to increase my engagement level from 70 to 90, or from 90 to 95, or if I want to increase my productivity from X to Y, so what I should do in the future? Prescriptive analytics talks about the recommendation and the interventions that the organization should do in order to achieve their destination, or the stated state, or the desired state. Now, by amalgamating all these four levels of analytics, companies are gaining a lot of value addition. A lot of companies have quantified the benefits. A lot of companies said that there is a lot of economic gain. A lot of companies have said yes, there is a lot of gain which cannot be quantified. But if you look at some of the examples written in this slide, for example, I've said that companies are able to cut down the cost and manage the talent in a much better way. So by cut down the cost, for example, companies are able to reduce the hiring time. If a company was taking 90 days to hire a set of people, and because of the analytics, if the company is now able to hire within 30 days, it's a big value addition. Similarly, there is an example that I have given from Unilever. I was listening to the chief HR officer some time back, and she was narrating that because of the analytics and the digitization, the company is able to now assess more than 2 million CVs every year, where the company was able to meet a lot of campuses, but because of that, the workplace diversity and inclusiveness has improved. Similarly, companies have started quantifying the return on investment on the HR initiatives. Now, companies know if I invest $1 in the mental health or in the mindfulness of an employee, what will be the return? Companies can do a lot of experimental studies wherein they do the as is scenario analysis first, and then they go for the interventions, and then they do what is the ultimate assessment of the situation. So in the process, the companies can come up with the exact ROI that they are contributing. ROI stands for return on investment. Similarly, a lot of companies, for example, there is a case study of Bank of Baroda, wherein because of those analytics, because of those HR interventions, the role of HR department increased from being a strategic partner to the company's board. And there are many such examples like this. Now, it is also important for us to understand what HR analytics is not about. Now, many times people feel that getting the forms filled, your work is done. It's completely a myth. If you are giving a lot of forms to be filled by the employees, you will not achieve any destination. I remember there are companies who are doing this from maybe 10 years, and I've seen the companies. For example, there is one company, the company had a problem of high attrition rate, and one of the HR manager gave a advice or gave a suggestion that they should do the exit management. By using the exit management, they can improve the retention. But the company is taking the exit interviews from last 10 years, but that data has not been utilized. So it is very, very important for the organization to complete the loop or complete the cycle so that they can gain the advantage. Similarly, people feel that analytics is learning statistics. Yes, it may, but it is not merely statistics. So you have to have a lot of logical reasoning, you have to have a lot of contextual understanding, you have to have a lot of integrative thinking where you can align things. Moving on. So I think I've spoken about these pitfalls of HR analytics. The third point makes a lot of sense. A lot of managers use HR analytics in order to have a confirmation bias. They have some biases and they want to use the numbers and the data to confirm that. That's not the right way. So my advice would be that you must go with a clean slate if you want to go about the value addition in the company using HR analytics. Thank you so much.